here tonight, and I want to make sure that everyone is welcome and thank you for coming to the Parkside PTO meeting. I'm Katie Baker. I'm your PTO president. We have Gina Dillon, who is the vice president, and Joanne Lambert, who is our secretary, and David Marker, who is our treasurer. So thank you so much for coming. We do have, there's an agenda back there with some, the budget page, just in case anyone would like to see our budget as well. And we have a sign-in sheet, just a few housekeeping things over here on this corner. So if you would like to sign in, that would be great. We would appreciate that. And I do just want to acknowledge our guests here tonight. Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Matthews and Mike Graham. And we have board member Barb Helms, school board member Barb Helms, and Jared Folsom is here, the president of the school board. So thank you so much for coming there. We also have Tammy Bergstrom, our mayor of Rockford, and we have city council member Charles Baker and city council member Cheryl Scales. And so thank you so much for everyone to come. We need to do an approval of our minutes from last our November meeting. So I just need somebody, if there's any questions about those, they're in the packet that is available and around. That's just a quick housekeeping thing. Sorry, we need to do. Heidi? Approved. There's a second. Gina, Dylan, seconds. Anyone in favor? Everyone in favor?
Yes.
Any no's? Perfect, thank you. All right, we are going to start with principal updates from Mindy McGinn.
All right, welcome everybody, thanks for coming. Can you hear over here? Are we loud enough?
Yep.
Good,
Yeah.
okay, perfect, thank you. We have been spending the last couple of weeks really thinking about intentionality. And it's kind of a little interesting around here the last few days, as you know, right? So we've been thinking about intentionality and how we as a staff want to move forward with our students so they can have this really wonderful space, right? Do you believe that there are only 29 school days before spring break? And only 38 days after spring break until June 6th. And so when we look at it like that, that's like 6 weeks and 8 weeks, and that is not a lot of time. So we want to be super intentional with the time that we have left. We talked about this quote yesterday. It's an unknown quote, but it says, hey, when the world feels like an emotional roller coaster, steady yourself with simple rituals. Do the dishes, fold the laundry, water the plants. Simplicity attracts wisdom. And so we are thinking about that in terms of what are rituals for our school. What do we do that brings that sense of to us, that are consistent, that are memorable, and then are things that we've done in the past that carry us through. So we started talking about our Tier 1 instruction. And we have this this chant that says, teaching our new curriculum with fidelity is our high impact strategy. We're looking at our intervention groups to make sure our students are getting what they need. We're using our data to make decisions about what needs to be learned. So those are things that are helping us, ground us. There are rituals to commit to our students. We're continuing our inclusion. We're keeping our PBIS, positive behavior supports, high. Those expectations high for students. And we're being super observant to watch and learn to make sure our students are in a great spot, in a great place for the remainder of the school year. And then there are those other rituals like smiling, high fives, hugs. Those are coming. We're committing to laugh. We're committing to collaborate. We're committing to celebrate our partnerships, and we're committing to connect with one another. So staff to staff, staff to student, student to staff, staff to parents, parents and back. All right. So when we think about that, how are we going to do that? First, we are super excited to talk about your students next week at our parent-teacher conferences. Right? We have 2 nights in person. If you need a virtual appointment, call your teacher, but we want you in the building. So come to parent-teacher conference to hear all the wonderful things about your kids and how they're growing. we're starting a little bit early with March is Reading Month. We're starting next week. We are going to do something called One Book, One School. You may have heard of this before, but every student will bring home a book, and there are weekly night reading opportunities for families, and then you can come back and students will listen to a question and try to answer the question to be drawn for a prize. And if for some reason you have nights like we do, like 5 people are going in 5 different directions and you can't read, that's okay, because someone at school will read those chapters to the students during that daytime. So we're going to do that, and I'm not telling you the title because it's a surprise. And if you already know, because some teachers already told, okay? So then we have spring break, and then we have M-STEP and spring assessments, and then somewhere in there we have carnival, and then we have field day and talent show, and it's going to go fast. So I just want you to know that we are committed to your children, and that we're going to make sure they have a really wonderful 29 and 38 days. And Emily is going to take the teacher report and talk about some of those grade level components, right?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Emily Molesta, kindergarten teacher and PTO rep. I am so thankful to Mindy because our staff meeting yesterday was so positive and productive, and we all left with a sense of purpose and a drive to ensure that these students have the best last weeks together with us, and that we're able to support each other as staff, regardless of what roller coaster park we're on. So thank you to Mindy for doing a great job refocusing us. A huge thank you to the PTO. We have felt the love. I mean, I told Mindy at one point, I'm like, I kind of feel like it's a funeral. Like, we got a death, and then all of a sudden the meal train starts coming in. We got a lunch, we got a self-care station, we got candy. It was like, thank you very much for showing your love to us. As far as grade level updates, kindergarten just finished their Kings and Queens unit, and we are moving on to weather, which ties into our CKLA knowledge units as well as our science units. First grade just had a great trip to the Grand Rapids Museum. Second grade is prepping for third grade math, and they're doing 3-digit addition, and Mrs. Gregory and Mrs. King were very excited about that. And they're also learning about the westward expansion. So if you haven't delved into the new CKLA curriculum, it is expansive and deep. So third grade is learning about Vikings and looking forward to their Lansing trip. So that'll be next in the budget payments for PTO. Fourth grade finished Zoo Lab today, and we're ready for their junior achievement business field trip. And fifth grade is busy, finished DARE, they're starting the revolutionary play, they're getting ready for Greenfield Village, and they went to the symphony. So we are cooking here at Parkside.
Great, thank you so much.
Good.
For my updates, I did want to share the PTO did purchase lunch the Friday after we received Dr. Matthews' email we catered in Qdoba. Sorry, I always want to say Chipotle, that was wrong. So we have, but the rest of it has been from the families and also from our staff appreciation committee. So they have really, I know that there are families that have just wanted to share their love and have brought things in too. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say thank you to everyone on that. I also feel like it's important to acknowledge as the PTO what happens to the PTO if the proposal that was shared to the school board on February 10th passes. The PTO, per our bylaws, which I have a copy of, and I, because we don't have a website, it's hard to share it, but I can add the bylaws into the newsletter this week, or if anyone wants them, we can email them to you as well. But per our bylaws, the money, if there's any leftover money from the PTO that's left in our budget, that is absorbed into the Rockford Public Schools. We have worked hard to show our love to our kids through fundraising over the last few years. So this PTO board has already had a conversation that we will show the love to the kids. And if you were here at the end of last year, before redistricting happened, we had a grand party out on the lawn with fire trucks and bounce houses, and If, if, if this goes through, then we will have a very similar party going out with a bang. So, just wanna reassure everyone, and if anyone is, as we get closer to that, to the end of the year, we will reassess as needed. So, that is all I have. Do you wanna talk about budget?
Yeah, I can talk about the budget real quickly. If everybody got a copy, this is sort of what we are looking to, spend for the rest of the year and where we're allocating our money. To be honest, a lot of it sort of been quiet the last couple of weeks, due to the holidays and everything, but because of the field trips that are starting to come in, a lot of things are, coming in and saying, hey, you need a check paid here, et cetera, on that aspect. So as of right now, our checking account has, $7,400, our savings account has about $6,000, and then our PayPal has about $1,300 in that, right now. We do have a couple of outstanding checks that are, out there. We have one personal check, and then the rest of them are actually through the bank that paid the bill, but they have not, cashed that check. So again, everything else is there, but ultimately the budget, we did make a revision to it, but I think again, as a board, we worked really hard trying to figure out a way, keep enough cushion, keep the savings untouched, but ultimately still giving, the, school a high quality environment, and everything. So, yeah, that's everything for me. Happy to meet you.
Okay, committee updates.
Okay, so really quickly on the holiday shop, I know that feels like forever ago now, but, just to give a quick overview, we spent about 4,500. We netted 5,000, so, we made about 500 on that. So, I shouldn't say netted. We took in 5,000 and netted 500. So it was a fun event. Thank you so much to those of you who volunteered for it. It was difficult, to say the least, getting people with availability over that time frame, and then we had a snow day in there that moved one of the shopping days. So, you know, it went off pretty well, I think, and hopefully you all enjoyed your gifts from your kiddos. There are a couple people who had issues with the vouchers, and the kids didn't spend their voucher, or they weren't aware of the shopping day. So anyhow, we're working to reimburse those folks now, the people who didn't have their money spent. So that is to come shortly, but yeah, that's it. Do you have anything?
I do.
Okay, good.
For staff appreciation next week, for parent teacher conference is on Thursday, we're doing a taco bar, and we still have plenty of spots left to sign up, so if anybody's interested in helping, there's a sign up that was linked, in the last couple of newsletters, and then maybe we can get that posted again to the Facebook page, just as a reminder, that would be great. And then we'll talk more as we get closer to staff appreciation week in May.
I just want you to know how much teachers really appreciate that on those conference nights, like that is just so helpful and lovely, and they come together and they can sit and relax and don't have to worry about that at night, so thank you for doing that, it's great.
Hopefully there'll be leftovers in the fridge for the next time.
That's even better.
Great, spring carnival.
We met for the carnival, and we are gonna do April 26th from 12 to 3. We're gonna have time slots for volunteers being 12 to 1:30 and then 1:30 to 3. We'll need volunteers for games, the inflatables. We're gonna do a dunk bucket this year instead of the dunk tank, so that we have less injuries of the teachers. So it'll just be a bucket. The kids will still like it. It'll fall on them and everyone will be safe, but we did ask the National Honor Society, the Student Council, and the Rotary Interact Club if they want any volunteer hours to help us out with that. So we'll see what we get from them. I know they're always looking for those. There is a sign up genius that I made. I'll send that out to parents as it gets a little closer and people know what their day looks like for that. We talked to Mr. Manuel, and we talked to, we got our permit, so we're all set for that day. We have inflatables from ACP, which was like the ones that we did at the end of last year, and then we also have Jay's Inflatables, who is someone that we know and is more local. So food trucks, we have one confirmed so far, but we'll probably have more that'll come in from that. And we'll be doing the class donation baskets and the teacher experiences, because I know those are the kids' favorite thing, when they can, you know, win the trip with the teacher down to Rockies and all that. So we'll be sending that out, and we'll do again where each grade does a basket. So keep an eye out for that.
Thank you. And I just wanted to mention upcoming spring events that we have on the horizon, because I know some of the new families, as we're going, we're just kind of throwing things at you, but Girls on the Run is coming up soon, and as well as Mileage Club will happen this spring once there's a track to run around. So, great, thank you. That was our regular business, and we have new business and some guest speakers. This is just kind of a little list of, we have a few guest speakers that we will have. I'm going to start. So there is, oh, sorry. There you go. Okay, so this is kind of our bigger question and our bigger ask to the district, is that things have been happening really crazy in the last 2 weeks. And we know that we only have about 2 more weeks until the school board vote. And so our big ask is to pause. That there, during the redistricting last year, I thought it went incredibly well to listen. You proposed it in December, and there was room for discussion with the community. There was a time for feedback from the community. There was a realignment for what was proposed, and then there was another vote. There was a vote. So it seemed like there was a lot of due diligence that was done during that time period, and it was really transparent to the families. There was collaboration within the district, and it felt like we were part of the solution, right? So super a lot on the screen. Sorry about that. But just we are hoping that there's a couple different options that we are hoping to be able to take time to collect more data. I think you're going to hear a lot of data points tonight from our guest speakers that we would like you to consider when making this decision that you'll have to make on March 10th. We're hoping that the district will reconsider the proposal, maybe withdraw the proposal, or if you're proceeding with the proposal. I heard Dr. Matthews, I know I wasn't here last Wednesday when you had the meeting, but I heard the video, and I heard you say that you were open to changing the proposal, you were open to having more collaborative meetings. To my knowledge, I don't know of any other meetings that have been scheduled yet. We're happy to participate in meetings. It doesn't have to be with me. I just happen to be somebody that was selected last year to be the PTO president. But I think that there's community stakeholders that can be involved that would like to help participate to make a solution that would work for everybody. Because I think, and at the end, we do have a more of a tangible solution. But I'm imploring the individuals that are making decisions about our children to take time. As parents, we all have to take time and breathe, right? Sometimes we just have to take a step back and breathe and say that that there's time to collaborate and work together, and that's what we're asking as a parent organization here tonight. So we have made what you're going to hear in the next few slides is we have surveyed as much as we could in a short time period, as many people as we could, from a grassroots way to try and ask the community what their interests were. You're going to hear from a parent who bought in the district to live here, to go to school here, whose kid isn't even here yet. They're at the preschool that we're trying to expand on. frankly, we just learned that our kids are actually buddies at preschool, because my daughter is friends with her son. So I think that this is not just a current Parkside, this is a future Parkside. And I'm hoping that my daughter, who's 4 and goes to 3-year-old preschool and loves it over there, doesn't have to go to school in a portable classroom in 5 years. And that's why I'm standing here. So, and that's why we're trying to work together. So I'm going to turn it over to Katie, and she is going to be our next speaker.
Do you mind if I borrow that clicker?
You have the clicker.
That way I don't have to tell you to click for me. Thank you. The top corner? Okay. Technology on Accomplish. So, before I hop into this, just following the last Parkside meeting that we had, a small group of concerned parents went to the Road River Tavern and decided we needed to do a little bit more. It's one of the blessings, I think, coming out of this, that I've got to enjoy the company of parents I would not normally have engaged with. So thank you for that. It's a strong little community we have here. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the community survey. There we go. So just a little precursor on this. So following that meeting, we decided we need to get more voices. There were a lot of voices that couldn't be heard that night. People that couldn't make it because it was snowing. People that don't feel comfortable speaking in a public setting but still have something to say. So we wanted to make sure that all voices were heard the best that we could in a short amount of time. So we created a Google survey. It is not perfect by any means. It is not created by a survey professional of any type. We wanted to get some questions out there. We had less than a week to do it, and so this is what we were able to come up with in that rushed amount of time. I'll also preface, not all comments clearly express a solution, so there's not as many solutions as there are concerns and frustrations. I did my best to code and group the items into categories so that they could roll up to things. I am going to hand over the raw data minus the email addresses to the school, so you can read through each of the 214 comments yourselves if you would like to. Some of them contain profanities and other frustrating things, so just brace yourself. Both directions though, all right? All right, so 80% of survey respondents were opposed to closing Parkside Elementary. Most felt there were other ways to meet both goals. These are your taxpayers, and 80% of them don't love the solution. Half of the respondents opposed to closing Parkside expressed that redistricting from last year probably caused the issue. There's also some conspiracy theories with that, which you'll find in the comments section. Of the respondents in favor of the current plan, only 9 were Parkside families. The majority were Meadow Ridge or Valley View families that were in favor, and some future Rockford preschool families. 64 families are considering or will definitely leave the district for private schools for homeschooling if Parkside approves the proposal as it is today. I'm one that's considering. You might call my bluff, you might not. When we look at the demographics, this rainbow chart here shows you the different groups of people. The biggest pie here is Parkside families. The other bigger pieces is community members. So these are not people with children in the schools currently, but people that felt passionate about Parkside. Some of the other big pieces would be Meadow Ridge and Valley View families, and then there's future Rockford pieces, and I will share this with you after the meeting as well. I'm just gonna go over the top 3, because it kind of trickles off after those. Class size and overcrowding, being back in portables, that was the biggest concern. Quality of education related to class size was the second biggest. Class size and resources among the students, meaning shared classrooms or specials and things like that, which today they have in separate rooms. Social and emotional student impacts was the third biggest concern, especially for those families who are moving more than once, and the thought that we would potentially have to redistrict in the next 2 years with developments that are going up. For common solutions, and we'll get into this a little bit more in my second slide, and I only have 2 slides. So. Preschools and elementary schools was the most popular, most requested. And the thought here, well, I'll save that for the next one. Second was redistricting.
One quote I enjoyed in the survey was, redistricting caused the problem and it can solve it as well. Then our third one is that childcare should not be as big of a priority as elementary. That was a common theme throughout. One of my favorite quotes on that one is that, go please. We filtered through a couple of these. Do not risk the development of elementary students who are a crucial junction in development for preschoolers. Preschool is not a legal mandate for a reason. All right. And on to the summary. So I combed for hours through these comments because there were a lot and some people wrote me a novel. The capacity of the schools and their direct impact on the quality of education is the biggest concern. There's a lack of faith in the school's ability to forecast students' needs in district lines, resulting in crowding and ultimately more redistricting. Third biggest common concern, removing a unique city school that is part of the community, rich with student diversity and kind values. Respondents overall do not believe the district understands the complexity of the Parkside student body and dynamic. There's a lot of things in this school that make it what it is, and we hope that we've presented that to you. Top solutions. Fix the redistricting with inclusion of streets cut out, or by allowing a combination of school of choice or other incentives like North Middle School access to increase attendance. Add preschool classrooms in key schools to use a scalable approach and see what needs are before investing in a child care center and removing an elementary. Parents also love the idea of something more conveniently located to them. So some parents talked about bringing traffic into here versus having something in their neighborhoods when there are classrooms available in the elementary schools already. And lastly, another common one that we saw was moving adult education to the freshman center where it better aligns. Some parents were completely unaware that preschool and adult education were in the same building and were not thrilled about it. Additionally with that, it sounds like it used to be in the freshman center and a lot of classes happened in the evening. One other quote I just want to share, because this was also one that kind of encompassed a lot of comments. I'm frustrated that the district spent hard-earned and well-needed money building a new school building just to turn around and say the existing building that is now half empty must be closed. The idea of using tax dollars to build a school and then turn around and charge parents makes me feel double taxed. Like I said, I will be turning over the raw data minus emails over. I'll send it to the board members and to parents.
I'll introduce Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl Scales. I'm city council member. I am a former Parkside parent. My kids are 32 and 29 now, and it's fun to hear some of the same things that they did, we still do. The Christmas, the carnival, I still have my parent gifts, so. And we've lived in the neighborhood for 30 years now. We may be part of the problem because we're still here and all our kids are moving out. And we realized that at Rockford in the city as we were doing our rec plan and our master plan and our rezoning. And we really want to keep the city vibrant. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background on what we've been doing, what we've been thinking about, and how that might give you some input on what could be future growth in this area that will keep continuing to fill our elementary schools. So just a little bit of, just within the city of Rockford, we have 6,200 people in a 2.1 square mile area. And our median age in 2020, from the 2020 census, is 35.4 is our median age. And 30% of the population in the city are 19 or under. Of course, that was a couple years ago, but that kind of gives you some basis of facts. That's in our master plan. If you look at our website, it's a very lush document with a lot of information on it. So that kind of gives you a little bit of background. I want to read you the vision that the city has in our master plan. In 2040, Rockford will be a welcoming, vibrant, and diverse community that has preserved and protected its natural and historical assets, walkable neighborhoods, and distinct sense of community and character, while continuing to provide a range of sustainable recreational, economic, and residential opportunities for everyone. Basically, we love the way our community is. Our community is a three-legged stool: the city, the businesses, and the schools. It's very important that we all work together. And we believe that some of the changes that we've made after going through the master plan, which was robust community engagement, also with the rec plan, there was a lot of community engagement, and this kind of all boils down into one of the #1 goals was fostering a sense of community and belonging through preserving a safe atmosphere of small town character and charm. Neighborhood schools are a big part of that, and Parkside is one of the very first that was in the center and the heart of Rockford. So I understand how you all feel, and we feel the same way, and the way that we've been dealing with the business of the city. We have, understand that housing has gotten very expensive. So one of the things that we did was we changed the R2 district, which is this neighborhood area, to a more dense area where we could allow to have duplexes, quadplexes, and sixplexes scattered within the houses. And also we allow auxiliary dwelling units, which are granny pods that would be in the backyard. So we're understanding that we need more dense development to be able to keep the population and keep the homes affordable. So what I did here, and I know this is hard to see, and I'll be sending it to everybody, and I know Dr. Matthews has seen some version of this. This is Cheryl's version, but I'll send it to you. But I just wanted to say, the little red dots are developments within the city of Rockford that we have already approved. And we have already approved an additional 152 units that will be built. Developers have come, they said they'll be there, some in Valley View, some in Parkside, but they are in the city. We also have some large parcels adjacent to the city that could be developed, and we've rezoned them to a little bit denser in R2 to be able to have that. And they could give us another 200 or so houses just in the city. Then I started looking at the townships that surround, and there's a lot of growth. All the little blue blobs, or the bright pink is potential. The blue blobs are already developments that have come up and been approved, and I think there's about 700 possible homes within there. I'm still trying to do the final numbers on some of them, but you can see they're scattered throughout the district. So no matter what, you're probably gonna have redistricting in a few years anyway. We all understand the need for Edgerton. We all voted for Edgerton. We knew there was overcrowding. We knew that we needed to have a school over there. But I think it's really important to keep our neighborhood and keep Rockford, have our central school. We know we'll still have Valley View if this goes, but it's so important to have that elementary experience. Another thing is all this land over here is Memorial Park. It's all owned by the city. We have a great partnership with the school and how we can use everything together. In the rec plan, we really focused and had the kids from Parkside really tell us what they thought would be great to do with this park in the future. So we had outdoor education pods. We had a lot of things that would supplement an elementary school and the green status that Parkside has. So I think, from a city perspective, I'm speaking as a personal person, but you have 3 of us here from the city council that are very concerned about this, and hope that you'll reconsider, pause, wait, and let's talk about whatever option is best. So thank you. We know you have a rough decision, and hope we can help you any way you need.
All right, Kelly, you ready?
Yep.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Kelly Brace. I have a kiddo who is in the 3-year-old full-day preschool program. My spouse and I, we did move to downtown Rockford in 2019 with the intention of starting our family and sending our kids to Parkside when the time came. I want to thank you for being invited to speak as a preschool parent, and also thank Dr. Matthews and board members for continuing to be open to their district families. I was able to attend the February 10th board meeting and the Parkside Parent Night on the 12th, and since then I've gone through board meeting notes surrounding the discussion about redrawing the district lines last year, and have been looking into past and current enrollment and capacity for the elementary buildings and the preschool programs. all the information that I'm presenting tonight is available to everyone online, aside from the elementary building capacity numbers, which we received directly from RPS. So to start off with the Parkside lines specifically, I went and rewatched the December 2023, January 2024, and February 2024 board meetings. What I observed from December was that we wanted to provide for a system where we don't have to redraw the lines every 5 years. We don't want to add more elementary schools because we can't redistrict accordingly. Regarding Valley View, it was said there's still a number of developments for that area that will still add students, and that the at that time proposed redistricting lines right sizes the Valley View population for what the building is built for. Out of those proposed lines, 2 schools were projected to grow: Cannonsburg from 200 to 254 students, Crestwood from under 500 to over 500, and Meadow Ridge would have their demographics change, removing their DK program and expanding DK to 3 schools, which are now Valley View, Crestwood, and Edgerton. Rosewood was intended to stay under 600 students, and Lakes, Belmont, and Parkside would shrink in size in order to absorb additional populations. This is the old district boundaries. You can see each school had a fairly large section. These are the proposed boundaries with a much smaller Parkside section. And I would like to point out that most of the north section for Parkside is an industrial area where no population can have a home. In the February 2024 board meeting, a piece of the proposed Rosewood section was given to Parkside, and it was said, there's not really a lot of population in that area, it just makes sense the way that the lines are drawn. It was also mentioned that we wanted to continue with a neighborhood school concept for all schools in the district. It seems that it was a known issue that Parkside would have lower attendance when these lines were drawn this way. And as we can see from the district maps, Parkside shrunk considerably. Especially when a chunk was given that didn't have a lot of population in the area. And that's exactly what happened. Parkside did shrink, and we lost nearly 100 students, while the other schools evened out. One of the main issues is preschools. As mentioned at the February 10th board meeting, it would be great if kids were able to have a cohort to move with through RPS, especially when they get to middle school. And since these new lines were drawn, the kids who share an elementary school will also funnel into the same middle school, aside from kids who opt into school of choice and then they would go directly to East Middle School. We know as a current preschool family how difficult it is to be on a wait list. There is a great need for childcare from ages 0 to 4 in the whole of the Rockford area. We were on wait lists. We were taken off of wait lists because they got frozen. We were on a wait list for full-day preschool until a spot opened up right before the school year started for us. We know that there is a greater need for full-day care rather than AM, PM only care. And there is a long wait list for that. These are numbers for RPS for our VAC and also our preschool facilities. It looks like there was AM PM care at Lakes until July of 2024. And that was a community ed program, which was now moved to the admin building. So that space that was licensed for 50 kids closed and was moved to the admin building, which has a capacity for 137 students. So now the admin building houses full-day 3s, full-day 4s, AM PM Montessori, part-time AM PM community ed, and part-time AM PM Spanish immersion. While the high school building still offers Child Development Lab, which is an AM PM program. So this is a counter proposal to what was proposed at the February 10th board meeting.
It's long, and we'll send this to you.
Yes.
But basically, do you want to conclude?
From looking at the numbers, it makes sense to expand elsewhere. To have the preschools expanded to Edgerton, Rosewood, and Valley View, because they now have numbers. We would need to redraw district lines for at least Parkside, Edgerton, and Valley View to make this happen. Because it makes sense to have Spanish immersion preschool become a full-day program. Currently it's at the admin building, and families can double dip, having kids do full-day preschool program and also part-time Spanish immersion. If we were to make Spanish immersion full-day and offer it at Rosewood, where the Spanish immersion elementary is already, that would entice more families to have a full-day program for Spanish immersion and also open up spaces for full-day 3s and 4s at another location. We would have to redraw lines so that Rosewood would stay under the expected 600 students. But since Parkside took a piece of Rosewood already, why can't we take part with some populations? Edgerton would also need to be redrawn so that Parkside has a fighting chance of populated area to continue to add students. Valley View now has capacity because of the district redrawing last year. So there potentially is room for some full day 3s and 4s at that school. Lakes, which had that community ed program already, that tells me that their playground is probably good to go for a preschool program. So we could potentially put a preschool program back there that would be full day. Edgerton, as we know, still has capacity, so we could offer full day there. This also entices families from around the district to come to Rockford, and also starts to build those cohorts so that kids can meet students that they are more likely to go through RPS with. The Montessori program, currently it is AM, PM, full week, but if we were to move it to full day and have it move to Parkside, that would free up a room in the admin building. And if we move Spanish out too, that would free up that space in the admin building. We know that people are looking for more full day programming than if they are AM, PM. If we were to cut that AM, PM community ed, which again is only part-time at the admin building, AM, PM is still offered at the high school building, that would free up more space in the admin building, potentially making the admin building full day 3s and 4s classes. And this also keeps the neighborhood schools, as was mentioned in the multiple board meetings that I went back and listened to. And again, it allows families to no longer be able to double dip, they have to pick one, which also forces more spots available for more families. So I hope
We actually believe that this would grow your preschool and grow your district, which is what Dr. Matthews had told us the goal is. So if you are a family that lives at Edgerton, in Edgerton district, and you actually lived in Sparta, it would maybe be more attractive if you could have a preschool program at Edgerton, and then you would be more likely, which is what I heard Mindy and Dr. Matthews tell me, that they would stay at the district, and that would actually grow that. As well as if you live in Lowell and you want to pick Lakes as your school. We have heard through the survey that it's a burden to drive here. I have a family at Valley View that I knew that did Cannonsburg Great Start Readiness Program. It was a burden for them to drive 20 minutes. So if you're looking to actually engage with your families and want to grow the district, we believe that this is an option that should be seriously considered, because this is an approach that would engage families at a stronger level than having one central location for preschool.
You gonna share all that detail with us?
Sure.
Yeah, and also please notice that it doesn't disrupt the current GSRP programs that are at, go
Cannonsburg.
back.
They're at Cannonsburg.
They're at Cannonsburg, yeah.
Okay.
And we could use that new
Cannonsburg
preschool
and
playground
Meadowbridge.
equipment they just installed last year.
Right.
At the end of the building?
Yeah, that's new.
Yep, it is
Yep.
very new. Yeah. So we hope that you consider it, and thank you.
I'd like to invite up next, Cammie Brown. Is Megan, are you? No, okay, just Cammie, perfect. Perfect, Cammie Brown. Cammie is a parent of students in Roguewood, at the Roguewood district, but has a student here through the ASD program. And when we spoke, I thought she had a great, great perspective that I want to make sure that we're sharing.
Thank you. I don't know many of you because my cutie is in the ASD and it's very separate from Parkside, even though it's within, because it's a smaller quantity of it. But I have really enjoyed this. I've gotten to know. One thing I will say, and I mean this in all sincerity, so no one take me as being sarcastic, please, is with all of this going around with parents and everything discussion, I saw something that I found really valuable. Some people criticized. It was a form letter that was sent from a board member, but I liked what was written in it, and I think it resonates value in what I'm going to say about my guy. This was from Jared, if you don't mind me sharing. Sure. It was shared among everybody. He did say that we are making decisions that serve the best interest of all students. Please keep in mind the slogan for RPS is every student, every space, every day. Someone told me the decision can't be made based on 24 ASD students. Well, my guy's an ASD student, and it's really important to me. So I really appreciate that comment. Another was that the focus on meeting students' needs. Not our needs, our students' needs. And I think that we all have that intention, and I do believe that the board does as well. Our responsibility, this was said as a board, is to ensure that our schools continue to provide the best possible learning environments. The most important environment for ASD is to be in the community, to be right here. I literally couldn't stress that enough. His ABA analyst said, oh my gosh, it is brilliant. I love that your teacher takes your son on walks. He is mostly nonverbal, with prompting, I always say. Especially my favorite is, done. But he is lacking development in his tongue. They took him to Rockies and he got an ice cream cone. That was amazing. His ABA tech was stoked that he's able to use his tongue and work those muscles, which you won't get in a lot of the other things in the classroom, but we can't walk to that if we're at Meadow Ridge, frankly. Meadow Ridge is a nice school, don't get me wrong, but we can't do that. They're able to walk to restaurants. A lot of these kids have eating problems with food. My guy may eat 15 things. They can experience new things. It's really a huge thing, it's really huge. They have problem with toe walking. The sidewalks here being frankly worse than in the neighborhood. It can help them with that and their steadiness, which is an OT. That's massive. There's so many factors of that. I like that we're listening to parents, staff, and community, and you guys are showing that by those who have shown up. I think it's really cool. Student council is here too, or not students, sorry, the city council too. So thank you, that's neat. And the mayor is really just a lot of people. It's cool. Reviewing the aspects of the proposal as well, which I appreciate that too because I love that last one, like, okay, we're upset, but not just we're upset, but this is what we're proposing. Thank you for that. Respecting the value, and I appreciate that as well because you're showing that by being here. Other things in the community in our location is, with my son being an ABA, which if you're not familiar is Applied Behavioral Analysis, I believe, I always forget. They use acronyms all the time. My son doesn't know how to play. He doesn't. He has to learn how to play with his siblings, which breaks my 9-year-old son's heart. My son doesn't, like I say, it took forever to get him to even eat an ice cream cone, and I attribute part of that to his location in Parkside. He is starting to say sounds that he couldn't do because of the lack of tongue development. Thank you, Rockies. But one of his actual goals in ABA and OT is community participation. You won't get that in a neighborhood on your walks at Meadow Ridge, but you'll get that here. Community participation, for those who are not understanding of it, because I actually asked for this from his analyst in ABA, is to be able to walk and not always have to hold hands. To be able to stop at the lights, the stop and go, which is safety for our community. To be able to understand that all of the cars in this area, you can't just run out in front of them, because you would. To be able to understand the traffic light that's red, it actually means stop. You won't get that in a neighborhood at Meadow Ridge. To be able to understand that, oh, there's a vehicle coming, well, it's kind of a sweet and quiet neighborhood over there, you won't get that there. So all of those are really important, and those are all goals in most kids in their in ASD program, whether they're in ABA or not. It's also an OT to stay alongside, to follow direction. With that being said, for those of you who don't know, you're gonna think it's so cool. They've also gone to the bowling alley and worked on turn taking, waiting, interactive play with other students in a different setting, not to mention the gross motor skills with the ball. I mean, it's pretty awesome. My mind was blown. I was like, that's so cool. They've gone swimming at North. They can't cross the Beltline and do all this stuff. Now, I'm not saying they walk to everything, but they walk to a lot of things they do here. That's wicked cool too, because 80% of ASD kids that elope, mine's a massive eloper, who elope, which means wander off, and are found deceased, it is a water-related incident. Let me say it again, 80%. 80%. And they are right here by North Rockford Middle School where they go swimming, which is amazing. So that's really cool to teach them the safety. They also, let me see, I went through those. One thing I would ask, and perhaps you're doing this, but if not, please, 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 before any decision or vote is made, please poll the ASD staff and get their opinion. I'm not saying a cry and weep session. I legitimately want to see if they have other suggestions, other ideas. They might go, you know, I get this. I 100% think it's brilliant. Bring more into the district, have a preschool. I'm all on board. But don't take it out of Parkside and don't take ASD out of here either. They may have ideas, they may have suggestions. That being said, you may want to even collaborate a committee of parents who want to respectfully discuss to try to come up with an alternate plan. That might be parents, it might be staff. You have other special ed staff too. It may not be people just in Parkside. I know that my OT person that my son sees through Western Michigan University, who is sadly sick tonight, couldn't come, she said if a school has such a gift to be able to work on the community participation, and they're right there, why in the world would they take them out of it? She said, my mind is blown. And I will say, she lives in Rockford, she is a community member and a taxpayer, and she wants to respectfully voice this because she sees the value in it. She's worked in schools, she's worked in homes, she's worked in centers, she's now running it. So she's so valuable, and if we're not, my ask is that we please consider the opinion of these people and what they have to say about it, because I think that's really valuable. That you poll all those people in the neuro community and see if they say, oh, it's not a major issue, or how can we change this to still make it work? And if you still go through, I'd be curious to see what support you have to put in play, because kids in the neurodiverse community do not handle change well. I'm not gonna lie, my son is fine. He pivots pretty well. He may have a fit at times, but he pivots pretty well. But some kids, I know a student here actually, used to scream at his mother, bloody murder, if she turned left when she had to go right. And he'd say one and she'd go the other, and she's like, I had to go, I was late for everything, I had to swivel and pivot, because he would not handle it. When he changed schools, it was a huge thing. Huge thing. Kids have to go back into all these therapies. They regress. It's a huge thing. And lastly today, my ABA tech even said, I was in a situation at school that there was a problem with the building, and we had to exit the building. And over the course of a year, there were 3 different buildings, and when they finally got back in their building, she goes, despite having the same staff, despite having their same peers, they still took that whole next school year to settle and to get acclimated again, because it's so hard for them neurologically, they can't handle it. So that, I'm looking at it, honestly, from an ASD perspective, that it's just so amazing. I was stoked when my son was going here. I heard good things about the school. The staff is so friendly and nice, which I love. The front desk, like, they're so welcoming. And I love our teachers, so Mr. Trent, he's awesome. But thank you truly for listening, and despite it, some criticism for it being a form letter, I do appreciate the aspects in it, because even if it's only 24 students in ASD, it's every student, every space, every day, and I really do believe that is your desire, but I pray that you look at that and consider how maybe it could be tweaked.
That is our end of our presentations. So I am wondering if, can I invite the board to ask the parents questions? Because we haven't had any conversations back and forth. I wanted to make sure that this meeting, that we talked as a board, we wanted to make sure that this was a positive meeting. I think you heard a lot last week, and I appreciate you all for listening, and you heard me on Monday at the board meeting, so I appreciate you all listening for that. And I hope that there's some value in understanding that we want to work with the district, that we understand that, I think I want to be clear in that we understand that 180 kids is not sustainable. I asked Mindy 3 or 4 times since last summer what the plan was, because we understood that this was not sustainable. I was asked constantly, as in my role. We also understand the need for childcare. I was also on a wait list. My husband and I was on 3 wait lists. By the time school started, I was accepted into all 3 of them within Rockford Public Schools. So I do want to make sure that that is clear. So I understand the anxiety of being on a wait list. We were blessed to get into full day, but I think that there's an alternative here, and I'm hoping that we can work together to do that, and that's my ask. But I'm hoping that there maybe is a way that we can have a little dialogue. With 3 board members, thank you, Christy. I see Christy Ramsey. I'm talking after we did introductions, but with 3 board members, I don't know if there is questions that you all have that you can ask us. I don't know what the rules are for open meetings, so I just wanted to, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I appreciate that. Maybe I'll go first.
Yeah.
Just say a couple of things. So first of all, I really want to thank the PTO and all of you here. I'm very appreciative of what PTO does in each of our elementary school buildings. As a parent of an elementary school student today, I've seen firsthand how much the work you do really truly helps build strong communities within each of our elementary schools. So I'm really grateful for that. I appreciate the invitation to come tonight. I do want to say, as I said to Katie, I'm happy to come and listen. I think the board is here to listen. So we're interested in hearing your concerns, your questions. We've heard a lot of that already through email after the proposal was shared at our board meeting a couple of weeks ago. At the parent meeting last week, a couple of us, myself and another trustee, were able to listen in on Dr. Matthews' presentation last week, and a 90-minute Q&A session on a cold, snowy night. And so it's very helpful for us to be present, to listen to those questions and those answers, to get an understanding of, how is this affecting you, what are your concerns, and so on. So I just want to reiterate that we are here to listen. We do have to be careful that we don't deliberate on an issue that we're going to be asked to vote on outside of our normal public meeting. So there is a process that we're in the midst of, and I've asked the board to respect the process. They're probably a little bit sick of hearing me say the word process, but I've said respect the process. So we're in the process now, and right now we're looking at the proposal that the administration has brought to the board to understand the proposal, the rationale, and in this part of the process, before we come together again to vote on the proposal, part of it is listening to the community, listening to parents. And so that's where we are today. That's why we're here tonight, is to listen. The last thing I'd like to say is, I've been a parent in the school district for 12 or so years now. We chose to live here because of Rockford Public Schools. That's the reason we live here. And I'm sure the same is true for many, if not all of you, right? I mean, that's the reason we're here. we have been, we've been happy every day that we made that decision. So we're in the right place. We have an excellent school system, and we have an excellent school system because we have excellent school administrators, including Dr. Matthews, our superintendent, and his senior leadership team, Mr. Ram and the others. We have a top-notch administrative team, and we are appreciative as a board of Dr. Matthews' leadership and what he has brought to the district in the last few years. We as a board and working closely with the administrative team, we've done some big things in recent years, right? We've hired and onboarded a new superintendent. That's a big deal, hadn't been done in Rockford in a while. We got a great outcome there, right?
Some of these people might disagree.
We've done other big things. Rams 12 was a big thing last year. Redistricting and opening a new elementary school, something that affects all schools in the district, a district-wide initiative. So just to name a few. This is no different. We're going through a process where a proposal's been made, and we're gonna get to understand the proposal, hear from the community, deliberate as a board in a meeting, and then make a decision. And so I wanna respect that process. But I do wanna just acknowledge that, you know, we have a great school system. We will continue to have a great school system, and it's because we have great administrators, we have great teachers and staff and principals, like Mrs. McGinn and others, and we have great parents and a great community that's very supportive of the schools. That was true 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's true today, it's gonna be true next year, or 5 years from now. That's gonna continue to be true. So I guess that's my input for the time being.
Oh, I'm Christy Ramsey. I'm sorry I was late. I had to work tonight, and I appreciate all of the things that you guys do. I was the PTO president at Meadow Ridge for many years. I did graduate from Rockford in '99. I grew up here. I absolutely understand the benefit of being in our school district. I had a kiddo that went to the early childhood special education program at Meadow Ridge, and I cannot tell you enough how wonderful that experience was, but that he was much like some other kids who needed very specialized care and support systems to be put in place. As a board member, hearing from you is one of the most important things that we do, because we truly care about every kid in this district. Every kid in this district needs something to pass. It is a very tough decision, and listening to how you feel and how it affects you is how we come to make a good decision. I appreciate everything that PTO has done and your parents have done. But we're always going to do what we can in the best way that we can for every kid. And this is a lot of information that we were given, and I'm sure you guys could send this to us, and that'd be great, and I would love to dig into this. We always want to collaborate with families, and this was a very thoughtful approach and plan that you put forth. So I think we just, we're in that process, like Jared said. We read every email. Thank you for writing them. I know how hard this is for you. I can't even imagine. I know we empathize in this situation, and we want to support the community the best way that we can. But we read every email. We will continue to read every email. We'll go through everything that you provided tonight. Thank you for your time. And we'll find a way.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So with us wanting to obviously close Parkside for obvious reasons, which I disagree on 100%, because you had discussed a couple weeks ago, I have another concern. Busing for all these kids. They're gonna be on a bus for 45 minutes to a half hour every day, going and coming from school. Have we even talked about busing now? You guys already have late busing that comes here because they have a hard time getting the high schoolers and middle schoolers out of their school onto the bus routes timely manners. We've got road construction, we've got snow coming, we've got ice problems. I don't feel that, thank you, construction all the time. I feel that you guys have also missed another part of this scenario. You have X amount of buses. We're already on a bus shortage. We don't have enough bus drivers. So you're proposing sending all these kids from our area, almost 150 kids, to completely different schools. You're gonna make them walk 3 and 4 blocks on -5-degree days some mornings. How are you gonna propose busing all them now, and 95% of our parents drive them or walk them to the school every morning? My mother's one of them. Her husband is, she does, Katie does. You're gonna take that element out. You're gonna shove these 150 kids on a bus, make them sit on that bus for a half hour, almost 2 hours a day, out of their day. Does that seem right to you? When you have a school 5 blocks away from my house, 6 blocks away from hers? Okay, 1 block. 10 blocks away from her? I mean, I look at it too. We all do. We know there's a shortage in preschool and daycare. I'm a single mom. Without my parents and my friend right there, I don't know how I'd do it either. But you guys are only looking at this part of it. That's why we're all here. We're here. His kids probably went here too. That's why he's here. Grandkids. Well, you probably know my mom if you go out down and get the grandkids. Do you want your 8-year-old, 5-year-old on a bus for 2 hours a day? Half hour there? Going around to other elementaries, picking up more kids? Do you want that?
There's unintended consequences.
Thank you. My daughter's 5 blocks away from the North Middle School. She rides the bus. I've heard some stories. Not good. Okay, she's a middle schooler.
I think transportation, maybe just making that.
Yeah, I think so.
That's fair.
Do we have the busing? Do we have the drivers? So then why wasn't that part of the equation?
So, we've talked to transportation about that.
Well, that's fine, but you didn't let us know that.
Okay.
You didn't let us
I
know
think in fairness,
where the bus stops are gonna
we're all
be.
hoping it doesn't make it that far.
But if it does or it doesn't, this is another general concern.
Yeah, it did rank on, the survey as one of the top 10, transportation was on there too. So there are a lot of comments about transportation concerns, particularly at Valley View, where they're backed up on Summit.
I've been to Valley View during the summer, cause my daughter takes summer school. And she loves summer school. I've been to Valley View. I know what she's talking about, and that was during the summer. That's not everybody pulling all their kids in every day. My daughter does not like change, sorry.
I just wanna, add something real quick. Thank you guys for being here. Very much appreciated. Thank you to my fellow colleagues from the city council from being here, and our prestigious mayor as well. I think what we've noticed within the redistricting process is a lot of pain points have been alleviated, right? Especially with Valley View. And as we look at the traffic on Summit Street and the parent drop-off area, it has gotten remarkably better, right? I don't think any of the Valley View parents would argue that. If we take all the students from here and given the additional developments that are happening within the city of Rockford that will eventually be districted to Valley View, we're right back to where we started, right? The amount of developments that if you calculated it out, to Cheryl's point, if each one of those households had 0.7 of a child, right, that is 70 additional students plus the 179 students that are coming from Parkside into Valley View. Right, and so we have to look at the continued growth of the city of Rockford. I like what you said about empathy and being transparent and communicative with the community members. I appreciate you meeting with the city manager today and having that discussion. But I feel like that should have been done at the outset of this proposal. When a proposal like this happens, it causes a lot of shock and awe within the system. And it doesn't give us a lot of time to formulate appropriate responses, ask questions appropriately. It becomes a very emotional response for the community as a whole. That's why you have so many people in this room today. That's why you had so many people at the meeting last week, because it was a very emotional response. One way that we can alleviate that is continued communication and understanding and being open to the perspective of different alternative ideas based on the community need. And that is really directed at the school board members right now, because this is gonna be on your plate eventually, right? This is gonna be what we elected you for, is to be our voice. And so all of us here, all of the survey comments, all of the people that are contacting you, we want our voice heard and we want a part of the process. And what we're asking from you today is to wait and to consider alternatives and to be very thoughtful about this process, because right now it feels very rushed and hasty. And I understand that there are timelines that are associated with that in regards to kindergarten enrollment and preschool enrollment and all of these other things. This could have been done earlier in the process, and I really don't think that there's any problem with waiting another year to look at the potential outcomes of the developments, of the enrollment numbers, and then make decisions. We're not kicking the can down the road. We're trying to understand what are the impacts of closing Parkside. Thank you.
I just want to make sure that Barb, you were the only board member that didn't get a chance to talk, so I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I just want to say I'm incredibly impressed in such a short period of time and how much work you guys have done. The survey's phenomenal, and I tell my employees, please don't come to me with a problem unless you have a solution, and I appreciate you guys offering a solution.
I think I'm just gonna ask what a lot of parents are thinking too, probably to you too, but is there any universe in which instead of going to the May 10th meeting or March 10th meeting with the current proposal, that there's a tweaked proposal? Is there?
Yep, sure.
So should we continue to hope?
You know, it's, what is it, 2.5 weeks away, and so, you know, between now and then, as I said, in February, we would listen, and if the proposal needs to be either tabled, if it needs to be changed, we certainly are willing to do that. You know, the goal is to find a way to support our teachers in this building who don't have collaborative partners right now, to create some additional support for our students who are in single section grades and 3 grade levels right now, to find a way to meet a community need of additional preschool and childcare options as well. And if there's a different way to approach that and to find solutions for those kinds of issues, you know, I'm more than willing to change. I mean, you know, I'm not bullheaded enough to say this is a perfect proposal and it's never going to change. What we want to do is find solutions to issues that we have found and issues that we think are important. And this is one way to address that. Is it the only way? Certainly not. And so I appreciate the thoughtfulness that you came to us tonight, and you know, the distance from February 10th, I think, has helped us a little. The emotions have kind of given way to thoughtful reflection on what are our solutions here. And so, you know, I'll talk with Jared and the rest of the board and my administrative team, and we'll find a way to move forward in a way that will continue to bring the community together. Because, as I said at the board meeting, you know, Rockford historically has been a place that attracts people, and we want it to continue to be a place that attracts people. And districts that fight among each other send a message that it's not a good place for kids, and that's not the message that we want. And so we'll continue to work with you, listen to you, find solutions, and as you know, as Charles said, you know, if we need to delay, I'm certain that wouldn't be the preferred option, you know, because I don't know if we could address the needs that I identified. But on the other hand, if that's the best option, then that certainly is an option to consider as we move forward.
Can you give us a timeline? I think a lot of us feel this pressure that March 10th is gonna happen. We don't know when the next engagement point is.
you know,
I would
the
say,
board votes
yeah, I'll
before
continue to talk with
public.
Mindy and with Jared and, you know, by sometime next week, we'll give you an update. The week after that, we'll give you another update. If at March tenth, we're not gonna, have the board consider an approach, we'll be sure to communicate that clearly, days before that meeting, so that you don't, come with pitchforks and torches and.
I think our fear is, you know, at least the way that I observe the board meeting to work, is you present your proposal, they vote, and then there's public comment.
Yeah,
And so I think that's everyone's
yeah.
biggest fear, is that like, it's gonna come as the same proposal, you all are gonna vote on it, and then there's room for public comment, and that just feels like it
You know,
wouldn't be
as I sat here
collaboration.
tonight, I mean, clearly one option is to allow you to be part of the presentation that night, for the board with the vote. I mean, they need, the whole board needs to hear your voice. I mean, the way, school, governance works in Michigan is that the only time a board has a voice is when all 7 members are together. That no individual member has a voice outside of the board. And so, we have to respect that process. But in saying that, there's certainly ways to get all of your voices in that room before the board has an opportunity to vote. And it may be that we decide that it's not appropriate to vote on March 10th. And if that's the recommendation that comes from me to the board, we would let you know that before March 10th. So.
Is there a room, I know that one of this, I'm sorry, before I even ask the question, Tammy had your hand raised, so make sure you guys.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask about the committee that made the recommendation. My understanding that was an internal administrative committee, and I am kind of surprised, given, the past way things have been done, that there wasn't more stakeholder involvement other than that, so just making that observation. I think it's certainly important to have the community involved as well as other stakeholders. I think your point about the uniqueness of Parkside is well taken. We just built, however millions of dollars we spent on Edgerton Trails to make this really unique learning environment. We have that here with the downtown community. I lived at 20 South Monroe for 20 years. I'm up on Summit now. But I always do remember seeing groups of kids, and I'm not sure what program they were in, but using our downtown as their learning environment, so.
And I've seen that as well.
And it doesn't cost extra.
Yeah, it's already here. So that's a very unique opportunity, and I hope that the board will consider that.
And I appreciate the perspective that we need community voices in this conversation. That's why we didn't ask the board to vote in February, it's a challenging conversation to have, to try to think through options, and that's why we wanted to kind of put down a marker and then collect some feedback and adjust and monitor and try to identify what are good solutions, because there are definitely things that need to happen, and the question is, how do we make those happen for our staff, for our students, and for families in the community, where they would feel like Rockford is committed to creating an environment where families can find solutions to common problems that they have. And one common problem that we hear all the time about is the lack of preschool and childcare options for families. And we know that some families find other places to go, and then they make commitments there and don't come back to the district. And we're trying to solve that problem, because we believe that a Rockford education is a meaningful education for kids and sets them up to be successful. And we want all of our community to feel that same way. And so, I appreciate all of you being here. I appreciate the voices, the emails that you sent, and we will find a way forward. And this is a messy process right now, but it's a process that I think will get us to a good spot as we move forward.
I just saw a couple hands. Are you okay taking a few questions? I didn't want it
Sure,
to
we
turn
can
into,
take
okay,
a couple of
are you
questions,
okay with
but,
that?
you know, one of the things that I would like to do is have an opportunity to reflect on all the information that
Sure.
you gave us before I try to, you know, decide on things with the administrative team, but certainly we can take some questions.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, I mean, I've heard you say for 2 weeks in a row now that one of the things that's important to you and the board is collaboration among teachers.
Mhm.
So I guess my question is, A, has research been done on the importance and impact of that?
Yes.
And then B, has there been any research done on the effect of what happens to children with instability in having 3 schools in 3 years? So I would think that that's probably more detrimental than the advantage of having collaboration among teachers.
And those are good questions, and both have been studied, and the collaboration among teachers is clearly in the research identified as a strong marker of effective schools and raises student achievement. The impact on students, clearly, the research says stable environments are better for students than environments that change a lot. But also part of that conversation is about caring adults who help students navigate through those changing situations. But it is undoubtedly true that stable environments are better in the long run. Having said that, there is no ideal educational framework, because you can look around Michigan, for example, and they have schools where students go K1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, so they're changing every 2 years. Just the structure of the buildings in the community and all those kinds of things. And so the most important part in education are the adults in the building who help guide students through those changes. And we have wonderful adults in our buildings who help navigate change for students. And so so stable environments clearly are a preferred thing, but you can have stability within kind of changing environments as well, based on who the adults are and their connection with the kids in the school. So that may or may not answer your question, but.
One thing is we talk about like learning communities and connections amongst the teachers is Rockford is a very large place with a lot of teachers, right? And one thing that COVID taught us is that we can do a lot of things virtually, and even within Rockford, we don't even have to do them virtually because of the proximity to other schools, right? So while we may be single section classes, or there may potentially be single section classes here in the Parkside building, there is a whole plethora of other kindergarten teachers, first grade teachers throughout the district that can create independent learning communities for those people to use. Just because they are in a building here does not silo them away from the other.
That is true. And I know our teachers have reached out to the other buildings this year. It's some of that serendipitous kind of daily conversation that is missed, you know, that the teacher in a classroom that's struggling with a student being able to walk across the hall to their neighbor kindergarten or first grade teacher and say, what can I do that I'm not doing? And so it's that intimate kind of day-to-day conversation that's lost when you don't have that collaborative partner. And so, you know, we believe that collaborative experiences for teachers are really meaningful to help improve the educational outcomes of kids. Parkside is missing a piece of that. Not completely, but missing a piece of that right now. And so part of the conversation was about how do we create a better environment for those teachers. And so we'll continue to work on that. And as I said, over the next 2.5 weeks, we'll kind of give you updates as we go and try to make sure that you feel connected. And if there's other opportunities for us to meet together, we can certainly take advantage of those as well.
A 10-word thing, I just want to be clear, that this was a created problem.
Yeah.
This wasn't a problem 2 years ago.
Correct.
This is a problem this year. That was a failed redistricting per school.
Well, yeah.
That's, I just
Because,
want, that's.
well, I would agree. Having said that, 2 years ago, the problem was Valley had 640 kids.
I'm just talking about Parkside.
Yeah,
And the
I know.
teachers
You
and the
know, so-
collaboration opportunities,
so-
they were taken away from the school in the redistricting process.
They were. Yep.
Okay.
Here's my problem. Is
She's
that-
next. Sorry. No, you can go. I'm gonna make mine short and sweet.
Okay.
You said in a comment that you want families, once they get into here, you don't wanna leave. We lived here, we moved 10 miles north. We are in Red Hawk country. My family and 4 others right next to me have chosen to stay in Rockford. They wave their flags proudly. I want to stay here. I don't wanna move. I can make my life 10 times easier going to my district. I am choosing not to. I am making my life harder, more driving, just everything. I wanna stay here.
Good.
And if Parkside were to go through this proposal, I don't know, I can say, I can stay here. I'll then be shipped to East Middle, so I hope there's some talk about maybe letting the few school of choice continue with North. I wanna stay here, I don't wanna leave. I toured, they're suck, I wanna stay here. So we are fighting to stay here.
I appreciate that.
Okay, I wanna be conscious of the fact that it's 8 o'clock and I appreciate everyone's time. We've been, an hour and a half and I wanna make sure that we're conscious of everyone's time. So, I am wondering if you are willing to do another meeting, if there is an interest in another meeting.
Let me look at my calendar and I'll talk to Mindy
Okay.
and we'll see what
Okay,
options.
sorry, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
I had a comment.
Okay.
And I'll try to make it brief, but we've heard about process. And I think you've come up with a failed product because you had a failed process. The people that should have been involved in this have been all the parents that have been speaking, the community, the city of Rockford, the parents, the grandparents, the taxpayers. They should have been involved in this process from the very beginning. And I encourage the board to vote a hard no on this until the process is right. Because the process has been totally failed. The cake was baked before it was given to the community, to the board members, to the students, to the parents, to all the people that had a vested interest in this school. And I think you need to go back to the zero and bring all these elements into the process before you present something and try to get people to vote on it. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
I just, cause I appreciate everybody like has all these emotions and I get it. But, I would love to hear from Dr. Matthews, cause like what did you, like I know you asked like, oh, can you see the PowerPoint? And I didn't know if you had any questions for us.
No, I'd like to kind of review it. I took some notes as you were going through it, and so I really appreciate all the information that's there, and we'll continue to have some conversations, and I'll talk to Mindy about possibly future times to get together.
Okay, I think we have one last question, right? Sorry.
So, first, I saw an article, there were quite a bit, thousands of dollars Michigan schools received, to hire new teachers. Rockford, apparently received $240,000, and how many teachers were, being planned to be hired, and what positions were they planning to be hired?
So, I'm not 100% sure what you're referring to, but there has been some money that we have generated through grants through MDE to kind of grow your own teachers, which is.
Yeah, I think that's what
Yep, and those are teachers in training. You have one of them here in your building, I think in 3rd grade. Grow your own student teacher this year, and so the idea was the state of Michigan would generate some additional dollars for districts to use to train teachers, and so we're in the midst, I don't know, there's 70 some teachers kind of in the pipeline, and some of them are participating in a program through Fair State. Some of them are high school seniors who are working in a program at Grand Valley State. Some of them are our current teachers who are working on master's degrees through Michigan State. And so we have 70 some odd teachers who are in that pipeline right now.
I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you for coming to the PTO meeting. Again, if you have that, there's a sign up in this, and my last thought is that, and Barb, actually, when you said that your staff, when your staff has a problem, you ask for a solution, I used to work in nonprofit management, and my last question, and this is something that I'm hoping the board will explore, because my understanding there isn't one, I'd love to see a budget on what it'll cost to turn this into a childcare center, because I know that there's a lot of requirements around that. And I'd love to see a budget, and I hope that the board is asking for those questions, because I'm pretty sure there isn't one as far as the parents have requested.
Yep.
So that's, in nonprofit management, that's kind of, you were required to have a budget. So just wondering if you could ask for that. That would be my last question for the board. So thank you so much for coming. I appreciate everyone's time, and I look forward to scheduling another meeting, hopefully. We can continue to have